As we enter the third floor of the dungeon, we are stepping into ruins of the Stone Age of the world, and they have become inhabited by Drow, Dritter, and Drugar, who are mostly ambivalent to the party and are content to continue doing what they're doing and living and let live, but they won't let you go forwards. The route forwards is in fact locked until a murder mystery can be solved, and the players can become a vital part of that. To set up this mystery, I've created a web, starting with the Outfitter, who is a Drugar who was killed and was something of a town favorite. Now, in this context, Outfitter isn't just for going out in the woods, because there are no woods. It's for mining, which is an integral part of the economy. And since an outfitter is something of a general store, everyone in town has done business with this Drugar merchant. Talking to the late merchant's wife will lead you to the guards, who will point you in multiple directions. Their main suspect are the Dritter living in the caves outside of town, but their lead that sent them to the Dritter was the clothier. Now, going to speak to the Dritter will take you to the forge, where you will then be sent to the foodstuffs salesman, who will send you to the magic shop, who will send you to the mayor. Whereas if you go check out the clothier, he will send you straight to the magic shop and then straight to the mayor. And ultimately, it is the mayor who is at blame, a drow who is prejudiced against the Dritter as they are seen as lesser creatures. And while he wouldn't shed drow blood, he would gladly shed a Drugar blood, which he also looks down on, in order to stir up hatred of the outcasts and lead the town in destroying them. Now, uncovering this mystery isn't the only route forward, and in fact, uncovering this mystery, if handled poorly, could lead to further complications. Other route forwards include the giant hole at the edge of town leading down to the next floor, or the well at the center of town leading all the way down to the bottom floor of the dungeon. If players want to test their luck and their skill on higher level areas, they can take either of these options, or they can solve the mystery and progress forwards into the Drow Palace. The Stone Age Palace, inhabited by the Drow King, is something of a hub area between the dungeons and the temple. Interactions here are cordial, polite, and very tense, with one wrong word making you a criminal, or seditious, or an enemy of a powerful sorcerer. Players will have to mind their P's and Q's or be thrown in the dungeon themselves, or else have to fight their way through the palace guard. The bottom floor contains the throne room, great hall, kitchens, and so forth. The second floor contains the library and wizard study, while the top floor contains the king's bedchamber and the guard's barracks. The king, guard captain, and court wizard will all try to trap the players in their words for one reason or another, either to maliciously exert force over them, to turn them into one of their servants, or simply to determine whether or not you're a threat. With players having to return through this area in order to go to dungeons or temple, or if they want to go back to the city and above, there are going to be many opportunities for them to slip up and find themselves the enemies of the Drow King. This is a place for tense role-playing and high-stakes charisma saves, and absolutely punishing to murder hobos that come here under-leveled. While the original purpose of this zone is unclear, the Drow have made it a prison and guard barracks, complete with mess hall, kitchen, and storeroom, with private quarters for the warden and cook. Prisoners are kept in cages hanging from the walls and pillars in the large central room. They are mostly Drugar, but some are Drow, and one unfortunate Dritter is cramped into a cage. Down the hall is a hub room, splitting into cave path and another hall. Through the winding trap-filled caves is a sacrificial altar, the Drow solution to overpopulated cages. It is emblazoned with the same symbol from the cult in the first level of the dungeon. Down the hall is a T intersection with doors to bath, latrine, torture room, and the torturer's bedchamber. There are a few optional goals to the dungeon. Find or be given the warden's key to progress into the currently off-limits temple. Find the hatch in the torturer's room into the crawl space in order to pass the temple and get into the dragon's lair. Help stage a prison break and Drugar uprising. They'll try to overtake the palace and town and install the Drugar chief as king. The choice is up to you. One of the problems that I ran into with the Stone Age temple was the original was just far too linear. A straight shot with branching paths and only one loop leading to a chamber. So when I sat down to remake it in Dungeon Draft, I added a few extra branching pathways that eventually molded into a forked structure with looping paths that provide multiple routes forwards. Further on in the dungeon there is a dragon, and it has sent its minions to take another zone. Its minions include lizard folk, elementals, and a drake. The drow have secluded themselves to the first few rooms of the dungeon, with guards setting up defenses and the monks taking cover behind them, refusing to leave their temple entirely because of their faithfulness. Should you choose to help them, you are given permission to take anything you want from the dungeon in order to help you in the process. There's relics and items of power scattered around the temple, as well as lizard folk looting, elementals running amok, and the drake roaming the hall as a random encounter. The final boss includes an elemental and lizard folk taking cover behind altars in the big circular room. Or you could just sneak your way past everything and leave the drow to their own troubles. Here's the random table for the loot you might find. The Stone Age treasury has a clear route forward, but forces the players to explore to find the way to unlock that door. Where the last section was controlled by the drow to some degree, with dragon minions being an invading force, this one is squarely under the control of the dragon's thralls, with different sections of this zone being squarely under the control of either the elementals or the lizard folks and drakes. You will find the entry passages under the control of lizard folks, with ambushes, traps, and strongholds set up, as well as many drakes. Where in the previous section there was only one drake roving the dungeon, there are many here, and they come out in force against you. But the rewards are commensurate, this having been a treasury both in the Stone Age and by the use of the drow. There are many treasures both from antiquity and the modern subterranean elves. In the elemental wing, I went with the design philosophy of the default room having two exits. This highlights player choice and agency and lets them find their own route through the dungeon or clear every possible room on their conquest of this zone. Again, treasures are commensurate with the greater threats, as elementals have full control, and even elements of their native planes are beginning to creep into the dungeon itself. Weapons are imbued with magical elemental energy. Instead of a boss battle, an all-out war has broken out between the lizard folk and the elementals in the final wing of the dungeon, forcing the party to pick a side or pick their way through the melee, or sit back and watch and hope that they don't get spotted and become the focus of their ire. The dragon's horde is split into a few disparate zones. The first one, when you walk in, is filled with kobold dragon worshippers. They are no physical threat, but if they should be attacked by the party, they will employ every trap in their arsenal. The next zone is the lizard folk camp. This being their home, they will most ardently defend it. The next section belongs to no party in particular and has representatives from each passing through it. In the top room, the elementals have created a forwards defenses, preventing anyone entering into their residences. The section off to the side is where the drakes breed and keep their eggs and raise their young. There is a route forwards to avoid the elemental guard. Next is the elementals zone, with a couple routes forwards and a few crisscrossing patterns. Every one will have you facing a fresh inferno. And finally, past a few puzzle-filled rooms, lies the dragon's hoard and a fight with a dragon. In the final chamber of the third floor of the dungeon, you will find the dragon's hatchery. The large central chamber is too hot to stay in for long, and it will force you into the side chambers as you work your way through the dungeon. The wormlings will attack if approached, but are mostly ambivalent to the party. The real threat is the sweltering heat. The structure of many of the rooms and the adjoining cave system reaches a spiral format, something of a callback to Junji Ito's Uzumaki, a high weirdness influence from deeper in the dungeon, affecting not only what's happening in the rooms, but now their very layout is being affected. The unused side rooms have been inhabited by giant spiders and phase spiders. They are simply filling up space and living their best life, and won't mind a player character snack that wanders into their lair. In the first set of spiraling rooms, laid out roughly in line with the golden ratio, you have the mouths of madness. Mouths covering many surfaces, floors, ceilings, and walls that will attack players that step on them and create opportunities for skill checks, as well as creative solutions to the problems. Once your players find a good solution, though, better just fiat that they do that for all of them so it doesn't get boring. In this next section, there are a spider web of hands reaching from the wall, grabbing, pulling, ripping at the party. Also, an opportunity for clever solutions. The cave system starts off natural, but quickly spirals out of control, getting tighter and tighter until the cave is sweltering. What's more, it's filled with maddening eyes that will affect the minds of the players. They will need to find keys in all three of these spiral sections to unlock the center room and go down to the next layer of the dungeon and step into the antediluvian world.